Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Today in Sports Betting Show. It is Monday, everybody. Happy Monday, Scott. What a day yesterday. Man, can I get a little more Broncos?
Well, I feel like people, even without watching the game, getting updates on Red Zone, were fed up with the Broncos because it felt like they crossed midfield maybe twice in the entire game.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, they kicked one field goal, so at least once.
McManus has been their best offensive player all year, so at least he's consistent.
Yeah, it was not good. It was I'm
still shocked they played the game.
Yeah, I know it was kind of on the Broncos because they didn't have the masks on there in the quarterback room and whatnot, but I don't know, man. It's just more weirdness from a weird season.
But even for local areas, let's just say, for example, of course, Saints fans are going to watch the game and Denver fans are going to watch the game. If you're in that time zone or if you're just in that area but you aren't really a fan of either team, why would you ever want to watch that game? I'm assuming those ratings were terrible.
You would think, I bet there was a lot of people that...
Besides the intrigue factor for the first quarter.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. You turn in for the first quarter, you go, yeah, that's about like how I thought it was going to go.
No, and for the first quarter, they've had like 4 drives, have maybe 2 yards. And you go, wait a second. Let me see what other games are on TV. And you start flipping channels. Yeah,
Denver picked up a first down on their first drive. They ran a couple of veers and, they ran an end around. And you're like, oh, well, I wonder how long this is going to work. And your answer was, yeah, about 1 drive. Mm-hmm. And then the defense figures out that's what you're doing every single play. And it was the worst, Scott, because you didn't have an opportunity to put in, any gadget plays or, anything they could have done it with those situations if they'd had a week. Mm-hmm. They had a day. So, that's, just no way. So welcome to the 2020, folks. That was quite a game. I, of course, was watching the Chiefs game and watching the Tyreek Hill show there in the first quarter as he put up 209 yards in the first quarter. And
with 2 touchdowns.
It was incredible. You would think that they would cover him, but then again, you can't really. I don't know that there's a better. Certainly, no, I don't think there's a better tandem in the NFL right now. Is there anybody you want to put up there for a better tandem than them, Scott? When are you going to start an argument?
Well, when you say them, I'm assuming you mean. You're talking about Mahomes and Hill, or you're talking about Hill and Kelsey?
No, Mahomes and Hill. Although Kelsey and Hill being 1-2 in the NFL.
That's why I was asking. I wasn't sure if you meant the receiver or.
I meant Mahomes and Hill.
I think it'd be hard pressed to find another one. I think if you were talking about 1-2 combos, I guess number 2 in that would either be. Well, sure, Murray and Hopkins would be close, or like Julio and Matt Ryan. I think number 2 would be Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that close.
Probably go with that.
So other people might disagree. It's really just a matter of Mahomes just being the best quarterback I've ever seen. And he's only been around for about 3-4 years.
Yeah.
But if you look at what he does, I can't even really find a comparison besides prime Aaron Rodgers. I feel like that's the only comparison there is, and Mahomes' numbers are better than all of his numbers. So I don't really know. Anytime you can have 2 receivers or 2 guys who catch the ball, because they're not technically both receivers, be number 1 and number 2 in receiving yards, you're kind of breaking the league. And this kind of just reminds me of Golden State breaking the 3-point mold in the NBA, where you're just looking at them and just going, they're doing something differently. I'm not sure why everyone else hasn't done that also. Oh, wait, it's because they have some of the greatest shooters or the greatest throwers of all time. And you're like, oh, maybe that's why people can't do that, because they have the talent advantage over everyone. But everybody's already started to copy Kansas City, which is why you've seen every team throw the ball significantly more than they did in the past. The only issue is you can't really beat the originals because you have Mahomes on one side and other quarterbacks on the other side, and I'm taking Mahomes every time. So that's kind of what sums it up, right?
Yeah, and everything. The great part about Mahomes is everything the league has done to adjust to him, he has adjusted back.
Yep.
They tried for a while to put pressure on him. That doesn't work because he's got a quick release if he needs it. I don't think anybody scans the field quicker than he does. He does a great job of knowing when to run, when to get down. He doesn't take shots. I don't know. It's still, again, it's like waking up next to a beautiful woman every day. You got to pinch yourself to convince yourself it's really true. And it's Kansas City had so many bad quarterbacks for so long, and to wake up every Sunday and find out we have Mahomes starting, it's a beautiful thing. Every day's Christmas. Every Sunday's Christmas around here, buddy. But so we've covered both ends of the spectrum of quarterback play. Let's talk about this game tonight, Scott. We've got a couple different ends of the quarterback spectrum here on display this evening as Russell Wilson goes up against Carson Wentz. Scott, what's wrong with Carson Wentz?
Well, it could be a couple factors. First of all, I know people can talk about it for basketball, particularly Markelle Fultz maybe back in the day. He seems like he has the yips. If you just watch him play, it seems like he's afraid to actually make decisions during his progressions. It seems like he's not really setting his feet or using any of the fundamentals from the base in order to actually create accurate, strong throws. And a lot of it has to do with either paranoia of being sacked every play or the fact that maybe it could be even injury related, just to the fact that he's not as mobile as he used to be from that knee injury he suffered several years ago. Nobody's really sure. I don't think it's really the knee injury because of the fact that at the end of last year, he pretty much put the team on his back and carried them to a playoff spot. So he has shown flashes since that injury where he has looked really good. So I'm not going to assume that that's the case, but people keep talking about that. I think it's mostly just either Peterson and the offense just not really doing anything to complement his game, or B, about asking him to do things he doesn't want to do, or B, just the complete lack of protection. And now he feels like he's looking over his shoulder every play. He's afraid of getting hit in the blind side.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it is it kind of like a bully, a kid at school who gets just bullied all the time, and by the end, all the bully has to do is look up him, and then they just hand over their lunch money and crawl into a ball. This offensive line has been dreadful.
They've been really, really bad, but I'm trying to think of when the last time I've actually seen Wentz play well was. I know he had a couple of flashes there. I know he had the fourth quarter in the Baltimore game earlier this year, stuff like that. But for a full game, last year?
Yeah, probably.
It's tough, and the main drop-off I can think of is the weapons, which have been really non-existent all year. But even when they've gotten back to somewhat full health, Wentz still looks awful. So I don't know if it's the weapons, but I know that this offensive line is injured, and it's really, really bad. And there's a reason why Wentz, in addition to leading the league in interceptions, fumbles, and those two which are never good, he's also leading in sacks.
Yeah, he gets sacked. He gets sacked 4 times a game, which is half a sack more than the next closest team, and that's substantial right there.
And you're kind of throwing that into David Carr territory at that point.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's the weird thing about this offensive line, because it's not like they're bad, because they lead the league in yards per attempt as far as rushing goes. So they can run block, but apparently they can't pass block, and that's a very unusual thing. You've usually got talent on the offensive line. They're going to be better than one or the other, but you're not going to be the best at one and the worst at the other. That's an extremely weird thing to have happen.
Well, I think that in addition to that, it just shows how bad Doug Peterson's been this year as the head coach. Because if you know that your offensive line can't pass protect, and you know that they're good at running the ball, maybe you should run the ball 20-something times, 30-something times again.
Yeah, or at least every time you pass, make it play action. Move the pocket, do something to give your quarterback a chance. Don't just take 5 steps and have him wait for a disaster to happen.
I'm just saying, because if you look at some of the results that you've had with the Eagles, their offensive balance is non-existent. This team, I know some of it you can argue is game flow, but I'm talking about even in the, when the game's actually competitive and all, you look at how the team has been performing against some of these good teams or even some of these bad teams in the NFC East. It seems like they throw the ball all the time. They have no offensive balance at all. I mean, you're looking at the Cleveland game, for example. That game was a 5-point game. You have the Eagles running the ball 25 times. Wentz throwing 35 passes, and he's sacked 5 times. I know that Sanders had 16 carries for 66 for 4.1 yards per carry. You should probably run the ball more before you get Wentz killed. And as a result, now you have some rumors, and there's been some reports that Jalen Hurts is going to be taking some potential snaps away from Wentz in this game, and how I don't know if that's going to play much of a factor in the future, but they're going to try. And I don't think the issue is the fact that you have to throw in a rookie quarterback who's looked awful as well in limited reps. And the issue is that the play calling, you should run the ball more.
Yeah, and I don't know where those rumors are coming from. I don't know if that's a rumor that's originating with people that are just talking Philadelphia.
Well, Hurts ended up getting some first-team reps in practice, so that's where it's coming from, because they figured, why would Hurts be getting reps if he wasn't actually going to be seeing the field a little bit?
Yeah, I think in any given week, your backup quarterback's going to get some 1 reps.
It seems like Peterson's gonna treat this like the captain of the Titanic and just go with the sinking ship. And that's what it seems like he's going. He announced that in press conferences leading up to this week that Wentz is our quarterback. If we bench him, we're basically punting the season. Now, that second part is idiotic, and that's a fireable offense by Peterson. You can't say, if we bench our awful starting quarterback, it's as if we're punting the season. Like, no, you're completely misunderstanding how bad your division is. You're just completely out of touch. But at the same point, that just shows that he has all the trust in the world in Wentz when he probably shouldn't. And I agree with you. I think Wentz will be getting basically every single touch, with the exception of maybe 5. He might get 5 snaps for Hurts.
There could be some situational wildcat.
Situational option stuff. So, he's going to have one really, really dumb 2-point conversion attempt appearance. It's just this team, it seems offensively, should be a run-first team. And the issue is they're not.
Yeah, they should be a run first, run second, and probably run third as well.
Play action, deep pass third. But that's the issue. They're treating Wentz not really like he's Mahomes, but they're giving him the opportunities to put up numbers like Mahomes. And the issue is they just don't have the personnel for that.
No, they don't. They've their receivers, number one, they're not that good, and number two, they're constantly in flux and they're constantly banged up. Bad break for Deshaun Jackson too, after just struggling with injuries for a couple of seasons, finally getting back to health, and then having just a horrific injury there at the goal line. But
he had an injury, then he had the punt return issue on Thursday night against the Giants. He came back for like a quarter, and then he got injured on the punt return. Yeah. Now he's pretty much out for the rest of the year. Alshon Jeffrey has also been banged up pretty much his entire career, but especially for the last year or so with the Eagles. But talk about this game here. We talked about a lot about Philadelphia. I think it's time to switch over to the opposite of whatever Philadelphia's offense is and talk about the second best offense in the league.
Yep. Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks, they're in a big news for them is they're getting Chris Carson back. And I think that's a huge part of this offense to take.
It's a huge deal, but it is worth mentioning that Carlos Hyde was very good last week.
He was, but I don't think you're not going to go forward to the Super Bowl with Carlos Hyde as your number one back.
I think it's all I'm saying is the Packers won the Super Bowl with James Starks as their number one running back. So I have seen worse running backs be the number one, but I know, of course, Carson's a massive upgrade in addition to the actual running and the fact that he's extremely tough in between the tackles. Also a very underrated pass catcher out of the backfield, something that Hyde is not really good at. So I think that does add another dimension. But Carson's great. I'm curious how they're going to divide up the touches. I doubt he's going to come straight back and immediately carry the ball 20-something times. Seattle is kind of weird because I'm assuming they're going to keep the balance that they had on the Thursday night game because they kind of decided after they were on that losing streak, we're going to have to create some more offensive balance. We can't let Wilson throw the ball 45 times a game. And they did, and it worked out really well. But the only thing I have to wonder is that Philadelphia is pretty good against the run. So I'm curious if they're going to revert back to the old system of let Russ cook, or if you're going to be keeping the balance, even though Philadelphia is one of the, I'd say, above-average rush defenses in the league.
Yeah, top 10.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to. I think you're going to have to run the ball against this Philly team because you're going to have to keep that defensive front honest because they are. The one thing that Philly does better than any other team is they get after the passer. So you're going to have to give them a reason not to pin their ear back and just come after Russ. So I think they're gonna have to run the ball. I don't know, 22 times, 22 to 25.
Of course, game flow might dictate some of that, but I'm really curious because you have some situations where you have some conflicting thoughts. You have Pete Carroll, for example, who said, "All right, we're trying to throw the ball every single play." And we're starting to lose, and we can't do that. We need to be balanced. And then you have other teams like the Rams and the Chiefs who play the Buccaneers, for example, who are really good against the run, and they say if running plays are useless, we should just throw the ball every single play.
Yeah.
And both ideas have been successful, but I'm really curious about what kind of approach you're going to take from that because you have teams like the Bills who did it against the Seahawks where they threw the ball every single play. And they had 400-something yards, and they won because nobody could stop it. And then you have to wonder, Pete Carroll doesn't seem like the guy who's going to switch game plans depending on opponent. He seems like the kind of guy who's going to stick with a game plan and just stick with it over and over again. So I agree. I think we will see more of this, I don't want to say run heavy, but heavily, I'd say just the running game being significantly involved. Even though Philly is good against the run, you probably shouldn't run the ball that much.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run the ball. Just like the Chiefs did yesterday against Tampa. They abandoned it kind of for the middle part of the game, but when they really needed it, they were able to peel off some gains there at the end with.
Yeah, at the end, but I thought the majority of the game plan was we're going to throw the ball around the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Seattle's going to do that because Pete Carroll is – I know that the team's been good so far this season, of course, because they're 7-3. Their possession, I believe, the 2 spot in the NFC if they win tonight. Mm-hmm. I really don't think Pete Carroll's been that good this year in terms of adjustments, mostly defensively. He's made some questionable comments and post-game stuff about justifying some call. I don't know. Seems like Pete Carroll, I know that he's still a very good head coach. Am I wrong for feeling that he could be doing a better job right now?
It's hard to say because injuries have impacted this team so much, and the lack of an upgrade in the pass rushing department, what they did in the offseason, I think really handicapped him.
Finally getting Carlos Dunlap does help that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk about because this is a team Dunlap's had 3.5 sacks since he's come over from the Bengals, and as a unit, they've had 13 sacks in their last 3 games. So they are finally starting to get after the quarterback. And they're starting to get some of their defensive backs healthy as well. Adams is going to be back tonight. Trey Flowers is back. Griffin is back. So they've got some huge pieces back there. Quandre Diggs is finally healthy, completely healthy. Hopefully that's going to help. And that's going to, between the pass rush and the defensive backfield getting healthy, I think this is going to be a different Seattle Seahawks defensive unit going forward, a little closer to maybe what we expected out of them.
I'll tell you what, it couldn't have gotten much worse.
No, they were on a historic pace for pass yardage given up.
I still think they're going to break the record, but yes.
Yeah, they can't play the Phillies every week.
I mean, they're on pace by about 50 yards.
What do you got for tonight, Scott?
So for tonight, it's really just a spot here where the play looks obvious, but even though the spread is what seems to be reasonable, Philly for some reason has been able to keep games close against good teams. If you just look at how they've actually played, the recent results, they lost the Browns by 5, lost to the Ravens by 2, lost to the Steelers by 9. They've been close in some of these games, even though this team is very, very bad. There's really no other way to put it. I think Seattle is obviously going to win. 6.5, it's starting to reach the point where I'm not fully interested in it. But based on what I've said about both teams, I got to take Seattle. I can't take this Philly team. This Philly team is beyond terrible.
Okay, very good. I got a premium on this as far as the side goes. I like the under here, Scott. It's kind of a weird deal, but I do think that there's going to be more running plays, especially early in the game, to help keep that total down. But I've got a prop that I like, and I'm going to go with Russell Wilson over 31.5 yards rushing. Reason for that being it's going to be a Philly unit that we talked about earlier. They're going to put pressure on the quarterback. Russ, he's going to want to get out of there. He's going to want to bail. And frankly, really about nobody does it better. You can talk about Kyler Murray, talk about Lamar, but as far as a guy that's been doing it for a long time, knows when to bail, knows when to get out of there, knows when to throw the ball down the field. I think Russ probably breaks out for 2 or 3 decent runs tonight over 10 yards. I'll take his rushing total there over 31.5 at minus 114 at Bet Online.
Okay, it's not bad. Plus, you also might have 1 or 2 read options thrown in there to keep the defense guessing.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Makes sense.
All right.
Yeah, it's really a situation in this spot just in general. It's not really the NFL's fault because they've had some teams look a lot worse than others. There have been some really, really bad primetime matchup games. And you say that every year. Usually Thursday night that's bad. The NFL's got to do a better job in the future when it comes to flexing games out. I know it's more difficult to flex out a Monday night game or even a Tuesday night game because, you have to sell tickets and you got a lot of stuff you can't really, factor in because of variable stuff. But they flex Sunday games to Sunday night late in the season all the time. can we stop putting like bad teams in? Because I don't think anybody really wants to see Seahawks Eagles on Monday night.
No, I don't think they. Well, I mean,
it matters because both teams are in the division hunt and the playoffs hunt. The Eagles in the playoff hunt.
I mean, theoretically, it should have been a good game. You got the team that won the East last year.
No, I know theoretically, but you can tell the writing's been on the wall for the last couple of weeks. Stop putting NFC East teams in prime time.
Yeah, well, that's certainly true. I think they should have I think they've earned themselves a year moratorium on not being on TV.
I'm just saying, you look at some of the other games you could have had. Could he easily have put Chiefs Broncos as one of the night games, and I think nobody would have complained.
Well, the bad thing is you've got your massive media markets in the NFC East. You've got New York, you've got Philly, you've got DC, and you've got Dallas. You've got four. I'm guessing those are all 4 top 10 media markets.
I guess the bright side for tonight is that the ratings are going to be high because there's no college basketball or really anything that's going to come in the way of Monday Night Football, but this is one of those games that is supposed to look really good when you're looking at the schedule to start the year.
Yeah.
And you could tell after week 2, this is going to be a problem.
Well, save those thoughts for tomorrow too, buddy.
Just throwing it out there. I think this game is going to be close because Seattle always makes games close when they shouldn't be. So we'll see what happens there. But I'll link to the under as well.
Agreed. All right, there you go. So that's our show for today. We're pretty excited about it compared to what we got to talk about tomorrow. So we're gonna save that nugget for 24 hours. But we are. I think there might be a rant or two coming tomorrow, Scott. I'm just saying.
We'll see.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for our show today. And of course, if you want to check out the deepest dive anywhere on the internet, go over there to winnersandwhiners.com. Check out all the matchup stats. You will not find a deeper dive anywhere, anytime, any place on the internet, winnersandwhiners.com. And, of course, we appreciate you guys watching today. Hey, drop us a note. Tell us what you think. Are we crazy? Is it you want to see these teams? You think we should be able to flex on Monday nights, whatever it is? Let us know. Let us know what you're playing. I'm always curious to see what everybody else has got cooked up for games like this, see what angles you're taking. So drop us a line in the comment section. Let us know. And, of course, we wish you nothing but good luck on all your plays. Hope every single one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. All right, you guys take care. Once again, appreciate it. Don't forget to give us the old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And, of course, for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, appreciate you watching, and we'll see you tomorrow on Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.